So, yesterday I had the privilege of going to a debate, and before the debate, there was a dinner. I was seated in front of an empty chair for a man who never came, and halfway through the evening, another man from the other end of the table came to occupy that seat so that he could share his food with his wife, his girlfriend, his beau, I'm not sure. Regardless, I started having a conversation with him, and he started asking me questions about my argument in the debate. And I could tell at some point that he was contrarian, both because he admitted this and also just because a lot of his opinions were the sort of opinions I did not know would allow people seats at dinner tables. At some point, he made his observation that women do not go on adventures. Women have personal adventures with their friends. They have interpersonal conflicts and relationships, and emerging victor in that circumstance provides them with joy. It is men who go on adventures and reach for the stars, and women are sort of sentenced to have these interpersonal connections with other people. And women just don't go on adventures, and if they did, they would not stand to benefit from those adventures in any kind of way. Hearing all this, I tried to have a rational conversation with him. I think I entertained him a lot more than I would have in other circumstances because he was wearing a suit, he had an English accent, and he was talking politely enough to me. So I engaged with him on that level, but his mind was sort of closed off to hearing other opinions on the subject. Even then, I still think that I gained something from this experience. I realized I'm a woman who goes on adventures. I have been told since I've got here many different things. I've been told your English is very good. I've been told you're a very good public speaker. When I help people, someone on the street, they look at me and very earnestly say, that might just be a turn of phrase, that's very kind of you. And one particular thing I'm told over and over again from students and a lot of adults is you're very brave to live so far from home. It's very brave of you to leave your country and move to a completely different area. I've never felt that's particularly brave of me because it's something that I've wanted to do my entire life. And to me, a scarier thought would be staying home and never getting to experience life like this, never getting to leave my country and to travel and go to university somewhere else and meet more of the kinds of people that I would be more in tune with. So that was definitely a consideration for me. So I am in this country now, and it's striking me every now and then that I have a lot of freedom. And when I was younger, this freedom was always framed in the sense of romance, drugs, very Magdalena Bay. But I realize now that this freedom also extends to a lot of the opportunities where I extend myself, whether that's my formative assignments, my debate, my contribution to the college magazine. These are also incredibly exciting opportunities. And the next day, I don't feel ashamed of myself after the opportunity, which has inspired me to seek more of them out. Well, I have always been seeking more of them out. I applied for a podcast position I got rejected for. The first debate pitch I sent, I was not selected for. I missed the deadline for applying for section editor of the magazine. So, keeping these things in mind, I feel that it is important for me to prove to myself that I can go on adventures and adventures that will allow me the opportunity to nourish my mind, body, and soul. I found that this desire for adventures has pushed me to eat a lot. You know, it's a very sensory experience eating, and it's very, very accessible. You find a place to eat everywhere. You can just walk down the street, you'll find a small corner shop, or you'll find a restaurant. But you won't find like a museum everywhere or a library everywhere because, of course, they're luxuries, they're extravagances. We as a society prioritize finding sustenance of a physical nature over that of an intellectual one. So, for those reasons, the resources we do have for travel and such can be rather scarce. But I think that that is all the more reason to seek out these places that are not sought out by us. and to ensure that we fully make the best of the opportunities that are provided to us, and not through food or people, but rather through something more meaningful, if a little less accessible. First accessible adventure that I undertook this year was in trying to organize my space in a manner that I understand. This meant that there were piles of laundry that were occasionally dealt with throughout the year. And I considered these to be adventures because there were times when it was very cold outside and I had better things to do, like talk to boys or go to societies. But I chose to do my laundry nonetheless. I chose to get groceries, I chose to do my dishes, and sometimes even clean my bathroom. So that was a wonderful way to be adventurous. Another way I was adventurous this year was by becoming very preoccupied by experiences. I went to a number of places around England, I traveled, and it was adventurous because I chose to go with people even though I wasn't in love with them. I chose to go just to see what places are like, and my friends were wonderful company even though I wasn't in love with them. Another great experience I had was wearing beautiful clothes in every single place that I went. While I went about to cinemas and shows and trying to watch and experience things, I tried to wear not only an adventurous, curious attitude towards the world, but also wonderful items of clothing, and to put myself in positions with other people where I could talk to them and get to know them. But I think the biggest adventure of all this year was to take a chance on myself and to not settle for less than what I deserve, whatever I could identify that as being throughout the year. But you know what? I didn't smoke or eat noodles very often or seek company of people who couldn't possibly have anything to offer me. Instead, I wore really pretty clothes and tried to figure out the kind of life I do want for myself. It wasn't an incredibly profound year, but I think I could make it one.